When we left Puerto Rico for Bahamas, we had to decide if we were going to take the north side of the island or the south side of the island. The problem with going with the north side of the island is that the wind had been really blowing over the last few days, and the waves from the Atlantic would be quite large, hitting us on the side, and we'd have a current against us. On the south side of the island would be calmer, but the wind was a little lighter. We opted to go on the south side of the island. We left at 6:30 in the morning, and unfortunately the winds were lighter than predicted, and it took us the entire day until almost sundown to get to the western coast of Puerto Rico. So we left the Palmas Marina early this morning at 6:30, and we're now traveling along the southern coast of Puerto Rico. And our plan is to head on the northern coast of the Dominican Republic, where we're going to catch some of the Gulf Stream pushing us this way. The weather map shows that we were able to sail this morning, but we're now entering very light winds. And then we're going to need to motor past the southern part of the island here. As we motored past the southern coast of Puerto Rico with no wind, we passed the area of Guianama, which is where the AES plant, the parent company of Puerto Rico Coal and Energy Company, is located. So I first wondered what that plant was that was putting a lot of black smoke into the air in the early morning. And doing a little bit of research on the internet found that it's been quite controversial, because this plant has huge stacks of toxic waste, ash, which is stored out in the open. In response to a spill in the Tennessee Valley in 2008, the Obama administration put into new rules regulating environmental protocols around ash piles, and they contain toxic metals such as arsenic, selenium, chromium-6, and vanadium, metals that are not only toxic but carcinogenic. In the new Trump administration, some of these rules were reduced because the coal industry lobbied that it was now too expensive to make coal. And Puerto Rico is dependent on coal for energy, so the AES plant was one of the lobbyists to have the EPA rules changed. This plant generates over 300,000 tons of coal ash each year. And this ash is stored in the open, where it can seep into the groundwater. Now, in previous EPA rules, the plants were responsible for monitoring, preventing, and correcting pollution, but that's no longer the case. Luckily, we can see in the future that alternate energy sources are beginning to be developed, and in Puerto Rico, wind farms are now dotting the shores. We see this as a very positive development in alternate clean energy sources that can ultimately provide the energy needed on this island. Okay, so things are a little slower than you had hoped, right?
Well, we were supposed to be in calm wind in this area, so it's not too surprising. We're just leaving the area of little wind right now, but instead of having a little northeast wind, we're having a 10-knot wind from the south, which is a reversal because of the big hill. So as soon as we get close to the end of the island, up here, then the wind should start to pick up, and once we have no more obstacle, then we should be nice established in a 15 to 20 knots from the northeast. So once we turn the corner here, very soon after, we'll probably have to take a reef so that make it more comfortable. And then to join our start of that routing that I had made this morning using the latest wind. So we had a nice current in the back for most of the day. If I go back to the planning page and I show you the information we got from the current. So here you can see a good explanation about what we've been trying to do here. So on the south side of Puerto Rico, we have a big current which is coming in through the Caribbean, Windward Islands, switching to the south of Puerto Rico, and then giving us a nice push until now, where we have some mixed currents until we leave here. If we had gone to the north, which would have probably been the preferred way, short to get into better winds, you can see that we would have had a pretty big current on the nose, and then going around here would have had a current on the nose all the way for the whole of Puerto Rico, which is 120 miles. So that wouldn't have been much fun, these things. But it does show how difficult it is to navigate currents, how complex the pattern is, depending on the bottom, but it goes up and down, and the reverse eddies that current likes to do.
Just drop the sail. Turn the corner. Just going around the tip of the island. We just reefed the main and the wind picked up as soon as we got finished. We're just letting the Genoa out.
And the wind changed direction from harder than 14 degrees to 22 degrees as forecasted. The timing could not have been better.
That's it. The Mona Passage is the passage between the western end of Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. It's known to be pretty rough and to have bad weather. So the ocean in this passage is not very deep. There are mountains and plateaus, and it can be 200 feet or 40 feet deep. But the ocean is coming from the North Atlantic at depths of well over 12,000 feet, up to 2,000 feet. And then when it reaches these shallow depths, it has nowhere to go but up, creating big waves. And on top of that, known to be a squally region. We had to point more into the winds and waves than we would have liked to avoid the hourglass-shaped shallow area off the Dominican Republic, where the waves are reported to be the worst. We weren't looking forward to doing the passage at night and thought about ducking into an anchorage on the western shore of Puerto Rico, but our guidebook wasn't very detailed and we thought it would be better to push on. So it's pretty rough because the water is very shallow. It'll get better when it gets deeper. And I'm going to go to bed. And maybe you can hear the singing of the shrouds now that we've removed the noise reduction. So now I'll tidy up the nighttime mess. And at night, we do wear our harnesses because they have an AIS. If someone were to fall overboard, they would inflate and the personal AIS device would go up. And I sewed little icons on the back so that we can quickly know which one is ours. When we reefed the mast last night with the wind howling, we wore our earphones. That way we can talk to each other without screaming and have good communication.
As soon as we leave the Mona Channel and we hit the northern shore of the Dominican Republic, then we're going to have a nice sleigh ride, which is what the routing software gave us. A nice sleigh ride with a nice big current in the back. As you can see, following the current, and so we pass by Trinity Coast. So it's 10 a.m. We're just passing the Bahia Escocia, which is south of Puerto Plata and Luperon, some towns that people watching this video may know. And the seas have calmed down somewhat. Last night was pretty rough. It was so rough that Karen and I took 2-hour watches and we slept in the salon.
So that's what we do when it's rough. If it's not rough, we just sleep in our own bed because you get a better sleep. And I just woke up from 2 hours of sleep in our own bed, and I'm feeling great. But I didn't feel so great before I went to bed. On the right side showing the changes in wind speed, 14, 15, and wind directions on the left side. So we've passed the Dominican Republic here, and we're now heading towards the Turks and Caicos, which we're going to pass tonight, so we got to make sure we stay on course. And we're getting lots of email from friends and family. We know that everyone's pretty much on lockdown, so we're hoping that there's no problem checking into the Bahamas, but we have people looking into the situation there by internet, since we have email on the boat with our satellite, but not real internet surfing.